hopefully this picks up right where we left off. Like I said in the beginning, I mean, I do all the things, right? I reboot my computer, I reboot my modem and my router. I do all the things before we start one of these shows. And sometimes, and I think it's Restream is, I don't know if they're just getting to capacity, if live streaming has become that popular. I don't know. I might have to look at
But
another solution.
did you open a ticket?
No, because I'm talking to you.
There you go.
But that takes us back to the accountability piece, right? Where you have to build that accountability into your business in order to,
Man,
yeah, yeah. He was in there. Let me. I do have one or two things running in the background here. I don't think it's my computer because last week it was kind of the same situation. It just worked itself out. So technology, it's a wonderful thing. Like I'm hardwired. I don't know, 30, $40 a month I pay for Restream. But
how many, what's the average number of techs an MSP has to have to solve a problem?
I don't know how many.
It's only one, but most of us haven't hired one yet.
Yeah, so that conversation came up on the podcast last week. Um, in terms of what we were talking about. We were talking about your first hire as an MSP, and whether it should be an admin or a tech. And I don't want to go down that path because we have other things to talk about tonight, in spite of all these issues. Um, so let's talk a little bit more about PAX 8 and partner success in the academy. What is kind of the overarching goal of PAX 8 when it comes to the academy?
Well, I think the important thing to get across is I am not measured as a profit center within PAX. To me, generates really just enough revenue to stay pretty close to break even. And the general way we do that is I want all that on-demand content to remain free for all PAX 8 partners, right? But free. I try to run the peer groups with as little cost as possible. So we run that pretty close to break even. I run partner cost as possible to try to run it pretty close to break even. We do make some margin out of the coaching, but I use that margin to pay for all the free stuff that we put out there. And that works out really well. The way I'm measured, or all of Academy is measured at PAX 8, is when a partner engages with PAX 8, and I love the way David Schaffer on my team says this, it's like we cause the partners to need to buy more licenses from PAX 8, right? If we help them grow their business or help them understand the product better or help them mature the way they're using their tools, they should be able to grow and get more clients and be qualified to have larger clients. And when they do that, they need to buy more licenses from PAX 8. So I'm measured, then that's all the reporting we do out of our platform, out of the marketplace, is they're buying this much before they engage with Academy. They have an engagement and then they start buying more. And right now PAX 8 is showing about twice the margin per partner.
Uh, the ones who get it, get it. I mean, I've known since I started as a vendor in this space, and it's been almost 10 years now since I sold my MSP and switched to the dark side. Um, those vendors who educate tend to training, business training, whatever kind of training it is, they tend to increase and statistically be higher consumers of that vendor's product than the ones who don't participate in that partner engagement and partner enablement.
Oh yeah, and it's proving itself out every time we look at the data, just within PAX 8. And I didn't really even know that was out there. And I went and looked at the year before, and we weren't even on the page, right? It was Ingram, Tech Data, and then Synex. So one year ago, um, PAX 8 came on the page, and then number two, gold. And last week, I saw the Channel Pro Readers' Choice Awards were announced, and we're sitting on top in the gold spot. So thank you
Very
to all the
nice.
Channel Pro readers that made that vote. So thank you.
Yep. And if you don't know of Channel Pro, look them up. They do a lot of great shows around the country, you know, to help, you know, educational wise, as well as, you know, getting vendors, you know, out in front of you as well. So uh, definitely, you know, Joel and the guys over there, and the ladies too, Colleen and all those folks definitely really do their part as part of the media to move this industry forward. So speaking of events, you guys had your first big event this year, PAX 8 Beyond. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there, but I heard great things.
Oh my gosh. We started planning it pre-COVID. It was, you know, it had a different name when it first was being planned, uh, but it got canceled because of COVID. But we still had the contracts with the Gaylord, so we will be there for 3 more years or 2 more years at least. But
Well, great
the
venue anyway.
yeah, oh man, it was an awesome venue, um, and we I remember Jen Bodell was saying this has to be a different kind of event, right? And I remember being in one of those early meetings, and I said, if you want this to be a different event, let's not make it about vendors. Let's make it about education, where the vendors help support the delivery of what we're teaching. And there was a little skepticism at first. Even Rob Ray was a little skeptical, but we worked together. Actually, he came in a little later. We were a little bit later in the planning stages, but um, I knew that if we made this an educational event, it would be different. And it, I I sort of was almost sorry I got what I asked for, right? Because next thing I know, Academy's on the hook for delivering 23 of the 26 sessions, right? So, and that's deck develop, concept development, deck development, uh, working with marketing to get that out, getting the right people to present on the different topics. But it was a lot of work. It was very well managed and very well orchestrated. Thank goodness or thank the channel company for helping us, put the event together so that we could come off as professional. And man, the comments were outstanding.
Yes. The feedback that I've heard, you know, just among my peer group, has been amazing, from different MSPs that I talk to all the time. They really enjoyed it and they appreciated the educational focus. And they said that the sessions were really, really good. It's not just that, you know, they appreciate that you attempted to do an educational focus. You pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean the average across all the sessions was like a 9.5 out of 10, and that's sort of unheard of as well. A ton of positive comments. We had a couple of audio issues, and we had a couple of comments and markdowns on our scores that maybe the maturity level of the content didn't match their maturity level. We did our best to kind of do that, and we broke the sessions into 5 personas, right? We owners, uh, finance and admin, service managers, sales, engineers. We had a security track. So there was a track for each of those personas with a set of offerings, and I think it worked really, really well. And that's the feedback we're hearing.
Well, that's great. And
And the product announcements and the announcements on stage and the all vendor sessions that we had, they all got extremely high marks as well. And the production quality was off the hook.
well, PAX 8's always been known for their production quality, right? I think Pinion is one of those companies that came in and from the beginning just kind of did things right. You know, they treated partners right. They understood how partners wanted these companies that they weren't able to purchase from before.
There's been a couple of keys to that success. Number one is, the founders of PAX 8 had a company before called MX Logic, right? Which was a 100% channel focused company. And they were very early into the Ingram seismic program. And so, they were a SaaS company trying to sell through Ingram. And John Street specifically was pretty unhappy with the services as a vendor he was receiving from the Ingram Seismic program. And after the acquisition by McAfee and taking a little time off and deciding what he wanted to do next, that's when he's like, distribution is broken when it comes to SaaS. And that's why he founded Pax8. And there was some hard years, there was some lean years. There was some times where there wasn't great vendors on the line card necessarily, but we got the Microsoft going, and that was through a partnership with Arrow. Not everybody knows that, but ultimately broke away from Arrow and just continued to grow, and the things kind of turned into a rocket ship.
Yep.
We had about 800 employees in May of 21 when I joined the company, and we're over 1,600 now.
So kind of going back to, you talked about, there's stuff available for people who are just partners. All they have to do is sign up and be a partner. There are some paid engagements that people can get involved with, and there are peer groups. So how does somebody get involved with like one of the peer groups?
Well, you do have to be a Pax8 partner, and man, if you just signed into the platform and go to the question mark and click on learning resources, or sorry, not the platform, it's the marketplace, right? But go into the marketplace, with the new marketplace that we got a preview of at Beyond Academy, it will be way more integrated. Or you can go to the website and it'll direct you there, or academy.pax8.com will get you straight there. And there's somewhere around 200 courses that you can just take. It's all free. It's all organized by your role at the company. It's organized by one of the 4 maturity levels. There's just so many different ways you can navigate, or journeys you could take to find all that free content out there. If you're interested in any of the instructor-led courses, you can find those at pax8.com/academy, as it's on the screen. I think we have 22 courses out there now. Some of my favorites are the service manager course. That's geared toward that person moving into the service manager role. The MSP employee onboarding course is kind of taken off like wildfire. It's all those things you need to teach an employee about how to be an MSP. That my team of coaches put together into that course, and we're hearing just amazing feedback on that. But there's a lot of stuff out there: contracts, jumpstarting an M365 practice, jumpstarting there's 3 different Azure practice courses, and those are all available in the marketplace. You can just grab those courses and sign up for them. We try to start most of them out every month, and they run somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks. An hour or 2 a week. The peer groups, though, it's probably best to talk to your CAM, your channel account manager. They'll get you connected with what we call our OSCs, our operations solution consultants, and they'll get you talking to the right people to decide which group or groups would be best for you. I saw that there's a chat from a Facebook user that said he now has 4 people in his company in 4 different groups. I'm assuming one in the project manager group, one in the dispatcher group, one in the service manager group, kind of thing. And he's saying it helped his business exponentially. So that's pretty exciting to see.
Well, and that's the benefit of having somebody like Pax8 behind it, right? Is you can create these different peer groups that are specifically tailored to different roles in the organization, right? And that's I would believe hugely important to the effectiveness of those peer groups.
Yeah, and they're facilitated by experts in that industry, or in that group, right? Like Amanda Glidden has been with C-Level and then Academy for 7 or 8 years, and she was a dispatcher for a 50+ person MSP prior to coming to C-Level, and she's a facilitator of that peer group, right? So, and while we try to steer the conversation or provide guidance, and try to stick more to the facilitator role, it's nice to know that that guidance is there, that experience is there to help steer those conversations.
Right. And facilitation is a job in and of itself. So being facilitator and coach can sometimes be a daunting task. Um, so you've built some great things at Pax 8. Now, I love the way you talked about it earlier, because earlier on at the very beginning of the show, you were talking about, how that's not how you did sea level, but with Pax 8 it needed to be different because Pax 8 it needs to scale, right?
Right.
You're dealing with a wider range of maturity levels in the partners that Pax 8 caters to, and there's just a lot that you have to be able to scale in order to meet all of the partners. And again, this it needs to work at scale. So I think it's great the way that you've put this together and modified the education and all of the processes that you did at sea level, and now we're able to deliver those at a greater scale through Pax 8. Has there been any struggles with that, or what's really kind of been the thing that got you over that hurdle of going from one-on-one coaching to scaling?
We had to develop a new KPI. It was percentage of coaches' time being used in the other three areas of academy, right? And at first it was like, can we get 3% of their time to not do coaching and work on building an instructor-led course or a self-service course or something like that, right? Because we needed their subject matter expertise, and that's an expensive endeavor, right? To take somebody who's billing several $100s an hour to do coaching and say, no, we don't want you to do that right now. We want you to do this. And it's actually a win where 10% of our coaches' time is going toward building those courses and stuff. And where we were only asking for 3. So it's been exciting to see the coaches kind of embrace the fact that the smaller companies don't have time or money to invest in an academy, leveraging an academy resource. So we need to give them something that they can use on their own time, without necessarily the expense involved with an academy resource getting involved with them. So, we need to nurture there. And by the way, our larger companies are using that same resource for, when they hire a new employee, right? We're seeing that. And we've seen over 2,000 unique companies now engaging in the free on-demand content increase in usage. And so on-demand is where we can scale the most. Instructor-led, it would be second, right? Because we try to run courses with up to about 20 people so they can still have interaction time with that live instructor. Peer groups, we got to have a facilitator for every 8 to 10 companies, and coaching, we have to have a person for, a coach can handle about 24 concurrent companies, 24 calls a week kind of thing. So, that's where the biggest scale problem is for sure. And it takes 6 months. It's kind of cool with a coach because, we hire them because they're sort of operational hotshots, right? They've got some industry, they've got some credibility, and they just want to start servicing clients. We're like, hey, hold on there, cowboy. We've got some content we need you to learn, and we need you to learn how we do the coaching, right? What our coaching methodology is. And it's about 6 months of studying material and shadowing other coaches and calls before we start to turn them loose. So that's quite an investment we're making in a coach. And it's kind of funny. They all just want a client. Give me some revenue. I want to service some revenue. And then we start engaging them in the process. And about 3 or 4 months in, we're like, so you think you're ready? And they're like, nope. And then we have to start encouraging. Yeah, you can do this. And then next thing you know, they're off just killing it with the partners.
Yep. All right. So I think based on the bad internet and stuff, we're probably going to cut it off pretty quickly. I did want to recognize that one of the Facebook users that is still watching is Mr. Keith Nelson, because he and I did have a conversation about KPIs earlier this week, and how KPIs for an MSP, for what I think is a true MSP, your KPIs should be fully aligned with your clients' KPIs, right? Because, you know, a good MSP, takes care of the IT stuff. A better MSP, contributes to cost efficiencies and reduce expenses and stuff like that. And a great MSP actually contributes to revenue as well. So, a lot of great things to talk about. And Rex, I apologize for the live stream being glitchy tonight. I the last time this happened, it was definitely a restream error because they send me a report after every one. And who knows, maybe it has something to do with the infrastructure issues that we had with the power and everything earlier this week here in North Carolina. They do. I am supposed to, in the next 6 months, maybe have fiber available to me. And as soon as that's available, I've already pre-signed up for it. That's how close it is. So as soon as it gets here, I'm going to be signing up for that. So one more time, how do people get connected to Pax8 and be able to access all of this great stuff that you guys are doing?
Well, before I get to that, can I just
Okay.
give some thoughts on the KPI?
Sure.
Discussion? Okay. Um, the first thing on KPIs is they change dramatically depending on your maturity level. That everybody reports to the owner company. There really aren't any KPIs. And I would argue they're not needed because the owners, their gut feeling is very, very accurate, right? And I would even argue that through that second stage, you can run the company very well without doing well with KPIs because, between the owner and the service exec, I might say service manager at this point, but they're still very connected to all the day-to-day interaction, that their guts are still accurate. But that's when we want to be able to get KPIs, and we're trying to measure them, and we try to run reports, and our data, we find out our data in our PSA and our RMM is junk. And it's because we don't have standard processes and procedures. So that whole second stage is all about working on standardizing process and procedure so that we can get good data, so that we can get good KPIs. And I kind of postulate we're at the end of the second stage when we look at our dashboards and they match what our gut already knows, right? And so the interesting thing there, what I think is important is, are people following our new processes? And I would do comp plans around, are people entering 8 hours a time? Are they changing the status of their tickets? Are they, right? And it's the stuff we just would expect them to do, but I would actually do bonuses around, are they following the process? Because that enables us as we go into that third stage where it becomes very inaccurate and we're dependent on those KPIs. So maybe in a stage 2, I'm giving a bonus because they're entering 8 hours, but I have a 58% utilization, right? Which is terrible. But I'm happy that now I know it's an accurate number, right?
Right.
And as we move into that third stage, I'm working to, now we have accurate data, I'm working on moving that to 75% utilization, or tying a bonus plan to agreement profitability or something like that we couldn't even measure before if we didn't have accurate data because we were following standard processes. So in my opinion, what you measure as a KPI changes at each of those maturity levels. So, one of the ones probably late second or early stage 3 that has to do with matching it with your partners is, it's funny, if you talk to a professional services company, they'll adamantly yell at the top of their lungs that, a good professional services program will drive new managed services revenue. But, if you talk to a company that's predominantly managed services, they'll equally yell at the top of their lungs that a good managed services program will drive professional services revenue, right? And they're both right for the predominant business model that they're in. But I'll tell you, if you're in that managed services predominant business model, a good KPI to measure is your business review process producing projects that are equal about 20% of your managed revenue. Month of managed revenue, you should be getting about $20,000 a month in projects because your business reviews create an IT alignment that justify the projects.
Right. And you're not finding something just to sell it to them. You're finding something that they actually need, and that is going to help them in the long run. So those are projects that don't just, you know, add to the MSP's bottom line. They actually help the client as well. And that's why you do those business reviews, because things change in their business, right? And
Yep.
as things change, projects that need to be addressed by the MSP.
Yeah, and if you find out that you're losing a client because of the termination notice, you completely failed in your business review process, right?
Absolutely.
Like you probably should be getting that notice.
Well, it's kind of like employee reviews, right? No employee review should ever be a surprise. It's the same thing with business reviews with clients. You should always go in having a good idea because you just had one either last month or last quarter. And so you should know the temperament. You should know what's going on. And if you don't have those business reviews, you won't know. And you won't know that there's this gap being created between.
So I totally agree. So to get a hold of Pax8 or Pax8 Academy, pax8.com, you can sign up as a new partner right there. If you're not already a partner, it's free. And then that will, once you get your login credentials, that'll get you full access to the Academy, all of Academy on Demand. You'll be able to sign up for instructor-led courses. One of the key KPIs I love to track within Pax8 and for Academy is, how much margin are we getting from partners where their first interaction with Pax8 was an Academy SKU. So that's something I love to point out to the execs at Pax8.
Yeah, and something that I bet and completely deservedly you're very proud of. So,
Very
all
cool.
right. We're so you and I both travel quite a bit, although I'm not traveling quite as much this year. Are you going to be at an event coming up?
Probably ConnectWise IT Nation Connect is the next event I'm actually scheduled for. So we'll see.
Okay.
I may jump in last minute to Exchange or something. We'll see.
Okay. I will be at Exchange in Nashville in a couple of weeks. That's at the Gaylord in Nashville. Speaking of Gaylord hotels, and yeah. Other than that, again, guys, apologies for the live stream tonight. We will work on the technology piece because that's what we do. Thanks very much, and we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks, Rex.
Thanks, everyone.